UFC Belgrade in Serbia's first ever UFC card. Uros Medic and Daniel Rodriguez headline a 5-round welterweight main event. Two top 15 fighters looking to make their stay and a big run to the title. A lot of good fights on this card. Some guys moving up divisions. Going to be very interesting to see. Let's get into my picks and predictions. First up, Marina Spasic and Stephanie Luciano. Marina Spasic making her UFC debut, a Serbia Belgrade native specifically, so this is her actual hometown. Looking to make a big statement in the UFC's first event and her debut. Mainly a striker, a few knockouts, body shot KOs, punches. Stephanie Luciano, mainly a grappler. This is her fourth fight to be in the UFC. She last came out and subbed Ravena Oliveira, and she beat Talita Al-Ansar in her UFC debut. Her only loss, obviously, is to Sam Hughes. It was a split decision, very close fight. She is 26 years of age and the bigger fighter, a very good grappler in her own right. Does hunt subs. I think she'll find one in this unranked strawweight matchup. Just not a lot to see from Spasic, and unfortunate for her in her UFC debut. In front of her home crowd, she's probably going to get subbed, and I think Luciano gets her back, gets a rear naked choke, and finishes it. So I'm going to predict Stephanie Luciano by round 2 submission, probably a rear naked choke. Next up, Jovan Leka and Alexander Popek. Jovan Leka making both of these guys actually making their UFC debuts. Alexander Popek is the first fighter on this card that's actually moving up a weight class. It is a short notice fight for him as well. He's coming up from light heavyweight. As you can see, he's 45 pounds lesser than Jovan Leka. He's outsized by 3 inches. Probably outsizing the reach as well. Leka is a big heavyweight. This is just going to be unfair for him. He's probably going to he did sign a contract, so he probably has a few fights. So this is that type of fight where he loses really badly, moves down to his natural weight class, and finds some success. That's probably what he's aiming for. I don't think he really cares about the result. Jovan Leka looking to prove a point in front of his home crowd in Serbia. Gonna look fantastic. Very fast on the feet. Good ground and pound. Think we're going to be in for a first round KO for Jovan Leka. Next up, the second and final women's fight on this card. Nina Milosevic, the native Serbian, making her debut as well in the UFC against Haley Cowan. Haley Cowan riding a 3-fight losing streak in the UFC. Last out, she got kneed and KO'd by Alice Pereira. She then got fit. Before that, she got subbed by Nora Cornole, and right before that, 3 or 4 years ago, she got decisioned by the native Canadian, Jamie Lynn Hort. Yeah, 3 years ago. Not super active. She is 34 years of age. She does outsize Nina Milosevic, but I don't think it's really gonna matter. She's not a great fighter. Doesn't really have any good particular skill set. Nina Milosevic, a solid striker in her hometown. 5 years younger, probably going to look to make a big statement win. I think she might get a round. I think she could get a round 3 TKO. I'm going to say this is a decision. There's always going to be a woman's decision, especially if there's 2 fights, and I think this one just has a bit more upside. Next up, one of the bigger bangers of the card and underrated fights, Mateusz Rambecki and Kyle Prepelic. Obviously, Mateusz Rambecki's 1-4 in his last 5 fights, but don't let the record fool you. This guy is an absolute dog. His last win was against Mikhtevek Oralbai in a crazy fight, which could have been fight of the year. And he's fought absolute killers. His last fight out, Ludovic Klein, or no, that was Grant. He got subbed by Grant Dawson 2 months ago. Before that, Ludovic Klein. Before that, he had a great fight with Chris Duncan, and before that, he had a pretty good fight with Diego Ferreira. All good killers in lightweight. Kyle Prepelic kind of struggled to start off his UFC career. Only 2 fights in, he got subbed by Benoit Saint-Denis at UFC 315 in Montreal, and then he also got finished by Drew Dober in UFC Edmonton. Not a great year for him as well. Obviously, it was a bit of a shorter notice fight for the Benoit Saint-Denis, but even then, he did not do well against Drew Dober. He's kind of weak on the feet, and he kind of gives the vibe that he's going to quit if you give him too much. Matoiz Rambetsky always bites down his mouthpiece, goes forward. He does have to mix in the takedowns, I think, here to beat Prepelic, and he probably will. The main thing is, does he try to posture up and lose position a few times? He is prone to do that. Prepelic has shown he has decent grappling, but he just doesn't have the grit. And in a lot of these fights, you can see he's a minus 700 favorite for a reason. You just have to have grit, and I think this is just going to be a fight where the guy that is tougher, the guy that has the will to win, will win this fight, and that's Matoiz Rambetsky. I think he's going to get a round 2 submission over Prepelic. Next up, Bogdan Grad and Denis Bezuchka. Not really sure. Probably butchered that name, but I don't really care. Two bums in their own right. To be fair, Bogdan Grad at least has some very fun fights. Last two outings he got finished by Luke Riley, and then before that he lost the decision to Muhammad Naimov. He's now 2-1 in the UFC. He did beat Michael Aswell in a very close fight that got him his contract. Denis Buzka in his last 5 fights is 1-4 though, all in the UFC, but he's been finished by quite a few guys. His last fight out, I think Marcio Barbosa in his debut, nasty left hook put him out. He has a bit of chin issues, but he also doesn't move his head. Lost the split to Francis Marshall. His only win is Connor Matthews, and Connor Matthews was cut a long time ago. Finished by Jamal Emmers, and he also lost the decision to Sean Woodson. I think he's also just taken too much damage. Two guys similar age, similar reach and height. Denis Buzka has the half-inch reach advantage and the 1-inch height advantage, but I think he's just taken too much damage. Bogdan Grad looks decent in some of his fights. He has good striking. He has decent wrestling as well, and I don't know if you guys seen him, but this guy has some crazy aura to him in this fight week. And I'll show you what I mean. What I mean is this guy, look at his hair. This guy right here, he's grown out his hair. He's hanging out with his wife in the media. This guy looks confident. He looks happy. He looks like he wants to win against Denis Buzka. Not to sound like Daniel Cormier, but a lot of times in a lot of fights, you see guys that want to win. You see guys that have the mentality. And in this case, we're also just going off of that, and that's Bogdan Grad. So I think Bogdan Grad can get a second round KO. I just think Denis Buzka is a bit chinny, and I'm not going to trust him at a plus 165 underdog. Bogdan Grad for the go. Next up, Mark Vologdin and Borislav Nikolic. Very close fight. Not really sure how to play it. Mark Vologdin, obviously, he is 0-1-1 in the UFC. Or sorry, no, he including the Contender Series, he's 0-1-1 in the UFC. He lost his Contender Series fight, but it was one of the greatest fights we've ever seen against Adriano Luna Martellini, or Adrian Luna Martinetti. I butchered his name, wow. And then he lost his UFC debut against John Castaneda. Not a super great look. I think he is very much outsized in bantamweight, and he needs to cut down to go to flyweight. 5'3", 65-inch reach. He's pretty much outsized by everybody. He seems like he's a good fighter, but sometimes those guys cannot make it work past flyweight, right? And that's a big example of Mark Vologdin. The only thing is, Borislav Nikolic, the Serbian Belgrade native, his hometown, very sus on his record. I don't really trust a lot of the guys he's beaten. He's especially those wins, they look kind of sus on his record. A lot of brave wins. Not a bad filler organization by any means, but I'm not really super trusting. He does outsize him quite a bit, but he's very long. He opens himself up for takedowns. He's kind of stiff on the feet. I kind of want to lean Mark Vologdin by decision here, and I think that's what I'm going to do. Obviously, I don't know too much about Borislav. This is also his debut, but I think Mark Volokdin, he really needs this win now. Hasn't gotten a win since prior to the Contender Series, and he could have lost that fight against John Castaneda as well. He needs a statement win. He needs a win in the UFC, and I think he's going to fight hard, grit down, and get a big decision win against Borislav. Next up, I'm not going to talk about this much because I think it's a no-brainer. I've been a very big Michael Oliveira fan over the last few years. He was a big LFA prospect, LFA champion, 28 years of age, undefeated, 9-0. His Contender Series fight against Victor Valenzuela was nasty. He has great power, very good striking, very technical for for a guy with a lot of power. He's big, 6'1". He actually cuts from about 220 pounds, I believe. That according to his team and his own story. He's a very big guy. Oban Elliott, he has not gotten a lot of success as of late. His 3 wins in the UFC aren't particularly good either. Preston Parsons, Val Woodburn, and also Basil Hafez. Not great wins by any means. He lost to Seokhyun Ko, and he also did get subbed. He got knocked down and subbed by Jonathan Mikhailov, the Australian fighter who came off the Contender Series as well. There's not a lot to look forward to for Oban Elliott. He is also only 28, but he's taken a fair bit of damage in his last few fights. Michael Oliveira, very clean on the feet, a lot of power, good wrestling and grappling. I think Oban Elliott is just far outmatched here, and I'm going to go Michael Oliveira by round 2 knockout. I think he's going to start off trying to get his groove in, trying to work his way into the fight, obviously, as a newcomer. Maybe he'll respect Oban a tiny bit, and once he gets comfortable, he'll probably put Oban Elliott out as he stands. Next up, Ludovic Klein and Tofik Musayev. Ludovic Klein coming off a big win after losing to Matois Gamrot against Matois Rambetsky. 2 Matoises in a row. The Slovakian fighter is probably also more so fighting on home soil. This is not to get any political stuff in there, but this is a white Christian Slavic fighter fighting in Serbia against a, quite frankly, pretty bad cheating brown Azerbaijani Muslim fighter in terms of who they're going to be cheering for. But either way, Ludovic Klein far outclasses Tofik Musayev in this fight. He's 5 years younger. He showed very, very good stuff on the feet, very well-rounded on the ground. Doesn't have a lot of pop in his shots, but he can land stiff jabs when he needs to. Tofik Musayev, his last fight out, he did beat Bahamondes, which would be a good win if he didn't cheat aggressively, especially after he should have been finished in that early stages of that fight. Not a great fighter. He got subbed by Miktabek Oralbay in, I think, a round. A dirty cheater by all means, and hopefully once he loses this fight, he gets cut. Ludovic Klein looking to make it 5-1 in his last 6, and I think he's going to get it done. Just way more well-rounded, very technical guy. Keeps proper distance, doesn't overcommit to shots, doesn't overcommit to random bad sub attempts. I think he could get a sub here. Tofik does leave his head open, but I think he's going to work his way to a crafty Ludovic Klein decision. Next up, this is kind of a random no-brainer pick because I don't know anything about these guys. 2 debutants, Milos Janic and Noah Gugnon. Could not tell you why this fight is on the main card, as I believe it is. It's pretty random. A guy from Montenegro and a guy from France, neither of them Serbian. 2 lightweights, one from FNC, the other coming from Aries. Going to just go with Noah Gugnon. He's fought in the better promotion. He has a lot of big finishes. I think he's a guy that gets a lot of takedowns, gets some big ground and pound finishes. Just not a lot to say from other fighters, but I'm just going to go with the slight favorite, Noah Gugnon, to get the second round TKO. Next up, a bit of an interesting one. Vlasto Chepo and Gilbert Urbina. Now, a lot of people and I mean a lot of people, have been immediately dismissive of Gilbert Urbina, and I was too. I'm still kind of dismissive of Gilbert Urbina, but one thing that's made me reconsider this fight entirely was that it's at middleweight. And the main thing for Gilbert Urbina is he's a large welterweight and a guy that could fill a frame and sort of has done that at the weigh-ins. Um, as a middleweight, he's a fast welterweight, has nice power. He did knock down the man in the main event, Uros Medic, in that in that fight. Didn't end his way, obviously, but he has good striking, very good straights. Vlasto Chepo, the Serbian native, has some very, very sus wins. Went knocked out some 8-3 guy, 12-2, 11-5 guy he lost to in octagon, 14-7 guy. This guy is not fighting a lot of cream of the crop fighters. Gilbert Urbina has only lost to very good, like pretty good welterweights for the most part. Last out, obviously Uros Medic, a loss that's aged pretty well for him. You never want to say that, but still, Charles Radke kind of the same. Brian Battle as well and that was just like 5 years ago. When Brian Battle was just entering the UFC, he's not lost to a lot of bad fighters by any means. He lost to Trayshawn Gore on the Ultimate Fighter a few years back, as many years back as well. And not only did he also his first professional loss was a young LFA champion, Sean Brady. So this guy's four losses overall are very good fighters that are considered much better than people look at Gilbert Urbina. He's moving up a weight class, very long, good striker. He has some decent grappling. I think, though, Gilbert Urbina can get the knockout. Vlasto Chepo just too uncertain. As I've watched this fight, he's very stiff, very open to shots. Gilbert Urbina, obviously, there is the chin problem, but I think Urbina is being heavily, heavily slept on. So I'm going to go Gilbert Urbina via first round KO. I think this guy is very underlooked and he can get it done quick. And if he doesn't get it done quick, he might get put out, but I think he will. Next up, Dusko Todorovic and Robert Valentin. Dusko Todorovic just got his second UFC win and his first win in almost 4 years. He beat Jose Medina via sub. He lost to Zach Reese, Mansour Abdul Malik, Christian Leroy Duncan. Not bad fighters by any means. Zachary Reese, a bit of a worse loss. He did beat Jose Medina. Great for him. Jose Medina is not a good fighter at all, though. Robert Valentin, kind of the same story, though. Entered the UFC off the Ultimate Fighter. He lost the finale to Ryan Loder, got KO'd. He lost a split decision to Torres Finney, who kind of just wrestle fucked him for 3 rounds. Not a great fight. And then he got KO'd by Ateba Gautier, who's a very good middleweight prospect right now. Robert Valentin was struggling a lot with his mental issues. His mother, as he said after he won his last fight against Julian LeBlanc, a first round submission, dealing with his mother's passing. Very good props to him. Hopefully he's doing well. He's come back very, very quickly now. It's been 3 months. Looking to get a big finish. I think he just has more finishing upside. And Dusko Todorovic, just not a great. Both these are not great fighters, but doesn't have a lot of finishing instinct. And the guy is very slow on the feet. Robert Valentin, I think, can piece him up. He has better grappling. And I think Valentin could get a first round KO over Dusko Todorovic. A slight favorite here. I'm still leaning heavily on Robert Valentin. Next up, I don't know if this is the third or second, but Alexander Rakic and Tybura Alexander Rakic is moving up a division to heavyweight. He's lost 4 of his last 5 fights, 4 in a row now. I believe 3 of them by finish. He got power jabbed by Azamat Murzakanov. He lost via TKO to Yuri Prohaska at UFC 300. He got also leg kicked, TKO'd by Jan Blachowicz. I think he blew out his knee. Marcin Tybura has had his own struggles recently as well. Got knocked out by Ante Delia, and then lost to Tyrell Fortune 4 months ago. Kind of rough for the 40-year-old. He's nearly 41. Similar size, 6'4 to 6'3. Alexander Rakic did weigh in almost 20 pounds lighter, but he has filled out his frame for the most part. Much more athletic, 6 years younger, and probably looking to make a big statement entering a new division after such a big losing streak. Obviously, he hasn't gotten a big finish since his win over Jimmy Manuwa, I think in 2018 or 19, but still looking to make a big statement, and I think he'll push the pace. Tybura's chin is kind of sus. He's been hurt quite a bit in his last few fights. And I think he will wither away and quit if he's hit too hard. Alexander Rakic, very, very athletic fighter, good head kicks. Very good straights. I don't even think he needs the head kick. I think he can land a 1-2 down the pipe and just put Tybura out of his misery and end his very good career, in my opinion. So I'm going to go Rakic by round 1 KO. Next up, the co-main event. A short notice spot for Navajo Sterling against Jan Blachowicz, the former champion. Navajo Sterling, undefeated, and I think riding a 4 or 5 fight UFC win streak. He's beaten Tuco Tacos, Ivan Urslan, Rodolfo Bellato, most recently Iwan Cutelaba, and he's got a finish over Bruno Lopez. So two finishes in a row for the New Zealander. Obviously, Jan Blachowicz has been struggling for quite a while. His last win was the knee blowout of Rakic, and he's arguably won all 4 of these decisions. We'll go through them really quickly, but Bogdan Guskov, if you don't score that second round of 10-8, Jan Blachowicz won that fight. If you don't, Carlos Ulberg, I think he got flat out robbed last year, and Carlos Ulberg is now the champion of the UFC. Not a bad loss at all, considering he arguably won. Alex Pereira, split decision, welcoming him to the light heavyweight division. Another fight where you could say he arguably won. And Magomed Ankalaev, if you do not score that one, I don't remember, it was the 4th or 5th round. I think it was the 4th, a 10-8 round. You do give Jan Blachowicz the undisputed light heavyweight championship. 43 years of age. Obviously, people are kind of worried. He's had a lot of shoulder surgeries. He had knee surgery. People would say you're kind of stupid for picking Jan Blachowicz. But one thing I'll say is Navajo Sterling just isn't that good. He's fought guys like Iwan Cutelaba where he was losing a fight, and then if you watch that fight, Iwan Cutelaba just kind of quit. Navajo Sterling just very slow on the feet, very stiff. You could argue Jan Blachowicz at 43 is still faster. He doesn't have power in his hands. Jan Blachowicz still has power in his hands. Very, very prone to getting hit by leg kicks. Literally Jan's specialty, the shin on shin, is his favorite thing to do, which makes other fighters very uncomfortable. Obviously, we are kind of worried about Jan's durability, but it's never really gotten worse by any means. Bogdan is a power puncher, so when he knocked him down in his last fight, it wasn't super out of place. Bogdan is a power puncher. Navajo Sterling is not a power puncher. He's also coming off a Japan vacation bender. Obviously, he literally just fought a month ago. Jan Blachowicz was prepared to fight Bogdan Guskov, and then that fight got moved. I just think this is a great time for Jan Blachowicz. He was ready to actually step in against Ankalaev last week, but they gave it to Bogdan Guskov instead. Just some small technicalities with the weight cut. So I'm going to pick Jan Blachowicz. I was going to pick him against Bogdan Guskov in the rematch, and I think Bogdan Guskov is better than Navajo Sterling. At least he's a bigger threat. So why not pick him against a lesser threat in Navajo Sterling? I think he can win a crafty decision. I'd hope for a KO. I'd hope for a big TKO, especially a leg kick TKO. I think this is way too early for Navajo Sterling. I mean, they just gave him a ranking off of beating Iwan Cutelaba, not a ranked fighter in his own right either. But yeah, this is too soon for Navajo Sterling. Jan Blachowicz will win a crafty decision. I just hope that he goes up to 0 if he has to drop a round, because he has been screwed by a lot of judges in the past, and they usually favor a lot of the younger guys or guys that can make a bigger moment in the UFC. So hopefully Blachowicz can get it done earlier in the rounds to secure that win. He is also the GOAT pick of the week. I'm looking for value in a plus 265 underdog, and Jan Blachowicz is that guy. People forget. People will forget, and he will make them remember. Finally, the main event, UFC Belgrade, the card that was built around this fighter specifically, Uros the Dr. Medic and Daniel Rodriguez. Uros Medic, 3 finishes in his last 3 fights. He's only won by finish in his entire career, not just the UFC. Following off a crazy flatline over Jeff Neal, he finished Muslim Salikov and obviously Gilbert Urbina before that. He did lose to Punahele Soriano, and a lot of people are like, oh my god, Punahele Soriano, he sucks. But Punahele Soriano has quietly built a 4-fight win streak in the welterweight division, longer than both of these fighters in the main event, and he was also at middleweight when he lost a lot of his fights. Now he's at welterweight, a better division for him where he's not a super small guy anymore. So I don't think that's a bad loss to have, and he actually throws straight punches. D-Rod does not throw straight punches. He throws a lot of looping hooks, a lot of looping overhands, and they kind of just land against older fighters and guys that don't have great head movement. Kevin Holland being one of those guys, and Kevin Holland arguably won that fight. He did knock down Daniel Rodriguez himself and nearly finished him. He got hit very badly in his own right, and Daniel Rodriguez gets credit for that, but he is a guy that throws looping overhand strikes, and if you have any decent head movement and range management, you shouldn't get hit by that. Medic, very good head movement, gets his head off the center line. Very fast on the feet, very good movement. If D-Rod was maybe a few years younger, and hadn't just gotten out of Mexican prison after 8 months, I believe, maybe I'd give him a shot. But there's really just no reason. His last fight was a year ago, just over a year ago, on the Dustin Poirier Max Holloway trilogy fight card, and Uros Medic has just been way more active, and he's improved way more. His loss against Punahele was nearly the same time where D-Rod fought Kevin Holland. So he's just been more active. He's improved much more. Definitely live for a KO in the first. I think that's what a lot of people are playing. I think he can get a second round KO as well. D-Rod, probably live earlier. He does gas himself. I don't see the problems for Uros. He does have later round finishes, and he manages the fast pace much better than D-Rod does. So I'm going for a first round Medic slimeout in his home turf to make a big statement to go on a title run of his own. That's it for my picks and predictions for this week. My official parlay of the week is Uros Medic by round 1 or 2 KO, and it is also parlayed with Alexander Rakic making a statement win, first round KO. Obviously, the GOAT pick of the week, Jan Blachowicz at plus 265. Hopefully, you guys hit your bets this week. Sorry for getting this video out late, but just had a lot to do. Gonna try to be more consistent. Hopefully, Uros Medic gets a big win here. Been a big fan of the guy. Very exciting fights. And is also not 39 years of age. That's it for this video, though. Hopefully, you all enjoyed. Deshaun Goatlin out.